What's going on, everybody? As you can see, I've got an Xbox 360 Slim here because that's what we're going to be working on. This tutorial is actually odd because a couple years ago, you didn't really see this happen at all. And once I kind of started seeing this issue pop up, especially over the last year or so, I realized that this is also something that's going to happen more and more as time goes along. So that's why I'm here bringing this tutorial. Now, what I'm talking about is a console that has a really, really slow boot up and sometimes won't even fully boot up. Another thing you'll see is it has a really slow boot up, and then once it finally gets to the dashboard, it's barely usable. Sometimes if you try to load a game, it's almost like the game skips or something, and it just can't catch up. But most of the time, you can't even get that far because, in general, the whole console just runs really sluggish. Everything feels like it's running a mile an hour. Um, and that's the type of issue that we're going to be dealing with here today. Now, believe it or not, that is all to do with storage, your internal storage. Um, any type of storage you have attached to this console can cause that problem. Now, one thing just to clarify real quick before we get started actually handling this issue, if you have a console that boots really, really slowly, but then red rings, this might not actually be your issue. Now, if you get a red dot of death or a red ring of death on the fat or whatever, if you have an E67, 68, 69, or 70, this is also still going to apply here, okay? Any other type of red dot of death, red ring of death, any other codes you get on the screen, anything like that, those will not apply here. That's still a normal red ring issue. That's a hardware failure on the motherboard. Okay, so let's actually get started handling the problem. As I talked about, this is all about your storage devices. The reason why this is happening is because every time your Xbox 360 tries to boot, it checks any type of internal or attached storage you have. Depending on what type of storage it is, depends on what types of checks it's making. And this happens all before you get booted up to the dashboard. If you have an issue or a problem with one of those storage devices, it's going to get caught while it's booting up and unable to boot, or just takes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to boot. If you use a flash drive, maybe for your save games, just remove that USB drive, boot the console up, and see if there's a difference. If it still has a problem, then we can move on to the next stuff. But if your console boots normally without the flash drive, then obviously that flash drive is starting to fail. And you'll need to try to back up the saves onto another storage if possible and replace it. Yeah. The next one is obviously going to be your hard drive. Now, this can be for the fat as well, or the slim. You're going to do the same thing where you just remove your hard drive, and obviously I've got the panel off already here, but on the slim you would take off the panel and then you would pull the little tab that pulls the hard drive out. Um, and then if it boots up fine without any issues, when you remove that, then your hard drive is your problem, and that means the hard drive is starting to fail. Now, in addition, you can also see red dots where it actually populates an error code on the screen, and that's what I was talking about earlier. When that's the case, that's almost always specifically the hard drive. So if you get the E67 or 68, 69 or 70, it's almost definitely got to be your hard drive if you have one. So yeah, now the reason why this tutorial exists, right, is because the Slim specifically also has a third memory module, and I would say over half the consoles that were ever sold of this model had that extra memory. And that memory is going to be most of everybody's problem on here because those are starting to fail like crazy. Now, the only problem is that does mean you have to get inside the console, and that's why I made this tutorial, because we're going to get inside the console. I'm going to show you where that special memory module is, and you're going to be able to replace it. To go along with that, if we've gotten to that point and we know that your console's still booting up slow even with none of the other storage options, you can check the link in the description, because those little memory modules, you can replace them without any soldering or anything crazy. So check the description and click that link. You'll see where you can get one of those replacement modules, and They're not very expensive. I only charge $12 for them. So the first thing we got to do is we got to start getting this open so we can actually get to that. Now, as I said, I've already pulled that off. So normally you would have, let me get a few extra ones here. Normally you would have, you know, two like this, as well as a plate underneath like this. So just keep that in mind on this side, because I'm only really going to show you on the one side, okay? So all we got to do is we got to pry this off. We're going to use a little flathead screwdriver. We're going to get this pried off. You can just stick it right under there and pull it right out. Now we've got this next layer right here, and you can see we've got kind of pretty large holes going all the way around. You can actually use that same screwdriver and gently start popping them out. If you're nervous, they're actually attached by the smaller holes, so you can push those through. It's just way more tedious, in my opinion, to do it that way. But if you're worried about damaging it, then you can try it that way as well. So we're just going around the outside, and we're just prying this up. And once you get to the end, there we go. Then, of course, on the other side, you're going to do the exact same thing. It just looks a tiny bit different. Next, we got to get, there's actually like a rim on here. So if you look on the very inside right here, there are these little clip things. What you got to do is you take your flathead, slip it down the middle of the clip underneath and behind it, and then pull the rim upwards while you do. And that will start popping them off of those clips. And there's one right here and kind of in the middle. Oh, and this one got back on. Man, this one's really stuck on there. Okay. So now I'm just doing the same thing on this other side, because you got 6. Oh, that one just popped right out. So you can see those these things are those clips you're prying off of there. Then flip, because we got one on both sides, same concept. Only difference here is there is one clip that's smaller. You'll have to pry it from the side, not down the middle. Okay, so we got that one off. Now we got to start opening it up from the back, okay? It's almost the similar concept to those side pieces here, but we have to put just the correct amount of pressure on the back, and then we can just let it come all loose. So we'll start on this side. This side, you should notice, is a little different because it actually has your Wi-Fi board here. That's how you have Wi-Fi. There's 2 clips right here. Now, hopefully I can get that lit correctly. You're just wanting to pry those up a little bit, and then that'll allow you to separate this side. Now on this side it's a lot different because it's got, right here it's got one clip that goes in this way, and then about right here it's got another clip, but it goes the opposite way. So you have to put just the right amount of pressure to get it to release. So first thing, we got to get the seal off if you still have one. Then what you got to do is you got to, on right here where the plug is, you got to put pressure just like this on this half of the case. And then right here you put pressure right where that seal was, but on this half. And you do it at the same time, that way it separates. Now I've done it a lot so it looks easy, but that might give you a little trouble. Just keep putting that pressure on it and eventually you'll get it to come loose. Alright, now you see there's a bunch of screws on here. These are called Torx, and specifically size T10. Okay, these kind of look like almost like a star pattern and stuff. We're only going to be removing the case screws on this one because all the rest are for the motherboard, and when we're getting to that memory module, we don't have to worry about that. So we're just taking out these main case screws. I believe every version they're black. So now once you get those, you'll be able to lift this top piece off and slightly separate that. Now just be careful because there is a ribbon here, and so you don't want that ribbon to rip, because if it rips, your power button won't work anymore. So just be careful. I didn't like how that one separated all by itself. Usually you have to take this top off first. So as you can see, this is attached right here. We got to pull this little part up and over, and then we got to open the clasp, and then we can pull it off and get that separated. You don't even really have to remove that, but since mine already did, I went ahead and did it. Now, if you have one of the original models, some of these Wi-Fi boards have to come out because they'll be attached. Some of them don't, but some of them do. And that's just another T10 screw. So then you can just slide that right out. Now we can just pop this top case off. Okay, now that we've got that top cover off, we've got to get underneath the disk drive here, because our memory, the extra memory module is going to be underneath here. So we just got to pull this up, remove the SATA and power cable from the back. And as you can see right here, we've exposed the memory module, this extra chip right here. So all we got to do now is, there's actually a plug that's right under here on this side. So we're going to pull up just straight upwards on the extra board. And then it's got two pads right here too that are kind of attached. You pull those off. And then all you got to do is, either you can leave this off and just, go with some other sort of storage. But this is really nice to have, this extra 4 gigabytes that's on board, and it's, high speed and everything. It's going to be a lot faster storage speed than, say, a USB drive or a hard drive, an external hard drive. So again, check that description, because you can get one of these for about 12 bucks, and keep that extra storage space in there. Okay, now that we've got that removed and replaced and all that, all you really have to do is reassemble everything. Now, I'm not going to show that in this full video because it's pretty much the same thing as when we took it apart. It's actually just a lot easier because you're not having to pry those clips on the back and put the right pressure. The only thing I will say is you always want to kind of start with the faceplate, because the two case pieces kind of slide over on top of these clips right here. So you got to kind of put that on while you're sliding this inwards with the top case. And that's really the only tip you really need as far as reassembly. Everything's kind of self-explanatory there. So anyways, guys, that's all for the tutorial. And after you get rid of that, you should see that your console boots up like normal now. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So until next time.